Hey, once more, welcome to yet another episode of the You Can Be Anything podcast. As usual, your girl Solange comes up here bi-weekly with amazing guests, right? Somebody asked me, how do I pick up my guests? I'm like, I think I know the good stuff out there. And the people who come to my show, they trust me. So I am very proud of what I'm doing. I'm so appreciative of the people who come on. And I always look forward to you amazing people who come to share your stories and your experiences and your thoughts on the podcast platform. Today, I am honored to have another Cameroonian podcaster extraordinaire, as he calls himself. Today, I have Cornell Jones. He is the host and the founder of Ceejay's Take Podcast. Thank you so much, Ceejay, for accepting my invitation to be my guest on the You Can Be Anything podcast platform.
Thank you so much, Solange. By the way, I'll just get it out of the way. This is actually a win for me, okay? So me being here, I should be thanking you for having me on your show to begin with, and I'm very, very honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm blessed to have the opportunity to chat with you. I love your podcast, Ceejay's Take. I listen to it. Sometimes it has lessons. I just love the way you talk. I love your vibe. It's really interesting and it's a nice one. So please, can you go ahead and talk to us? Who is Ceejay? How will you describe yourself?
I'm going to Ceejay is a podcaster, basically, right? When people ask what's Ceejay, where does it come from? Well, initials are my two names, Cornell Jones, Ceejay. So it's a podcaster, someone who likes to talk. I have a background in, I was trained as a journalist, JMC, University of Boya. So we all come from that, people who don't like to stay quiet, right? I'm based in Bahrain, originally from Bamenda, Cameroonian, Bamenda boy, but I grew up in Boya and Douala. I've been living in this little island for 6 years now. This is where my main hustle is, although I'm a little bit all over the place. And I do podcasting. That's how I got to find out about Solange, who has an amazing platform, by the way, which I'm so jealous of. And I really want to do like what she's doing and all that. So I'm getting there. But apart from that, Ceejay is also a guy that, likes to have conversations that people normally will not want to talk about in public. I like to bring those conversations to the table so that people give their opinions about it. And basically that's it. Just a free spirit young man. That's it. Nothing special.
You're doing a great job with the Ceejay's Take podcast. And this is where I'd like for you to talk to us about Ceejay's Take podcast. What motivated Ceejay's Take podcast? What is it about? For somebody who hasn't heard about you, who doesn't know your podcast, say something that will make them go on Spotify and look for Ceejay's Take. What is Ceejay all about?
I mean, when COVID started, right? I still remember when COVID started. That's when I decided to get into the whole podcasting world. But it's something that's always been in my mind, something that's always been in my mind to be out there to actually talk to people. But I didn't do that because I was looking for the perfect opportunity to be able to do that. So when COVID hit, I was locked up at home, quarantine. I started a podcast as a therapy thing for me. For me, this was something to help me to, get these ideas in my head because I'm a conversationist. I always tell people that. I believe that when people get to talk more, the world becomes a better place. Because if I'm talking to you, I know you don't like red. I'm not going to put red in front of you. So we're not going to have conflict, right? But if I don't talk to you, I don't get to know that. So that's how it all started. So I decided to just, get on this platform where I just put my ideas out there. And also because we live in a world where there are a lot of things that you would rather talk about with your BFFs, where you guys are hanging out. And all of you have opinions about it, but then you're not going to speak that same issue if you're put in a group of, say, 10 people. Because why? You're scared of being judged, maybe, or people not understanding, misunderstanding you and, stigmatized or whatever. So I felt like people need to have those conversations in public. It's okay to have an opinion and, which should be respected. So that's basically what motivated me to start up Ceejay's Take Podcast, which is a platform where I just go on and I free my mind, I just go on and I explode everything that's in my little head, which I always tell people, you might not agree with a lot of the things I'll say, but that's the goal of it. So we can have a conversation, right? Tell me you don't like it. tell me you don't agree, and then we agree to disagree, and then life's just better. So that's basically what my podcast is about. It's about relationships, love, marriages, personal development, religion, whatever. It's free flow of everything.
Yeah, that's good. When I listen to you, I think that's the first vibe I got. Like, you're not niched. You talk about life. You talk about everything. It's a very free flow platform, which I really like. But before we go ahead, please kindly introduce Ceejay's Take Podcast to us. Hey, yo, please, can you do that for me?
Hey, yo, what up? My name is Ceejay, and this is Ceejay's Take. Welcome to my podcast. That's how I go about it. I'm extraordinary Cameroonian podcaster, extraordinary, the host with the most, free flow, bilingual, you know what I'm saying, good looking, you know what I'm saying? I just get on the mic and I just do my thing.
Yes, right? And you go with the C to the E.
C to the E-E-J-A-Y.
There we go. Thank you so much. So I listen to your podcast. I like that. I like it. I like that vibe. I like the energy you bring in when you introduce your podcast, when you talk about it. I really do enjoy it. So yeah, good job. Hey, if you're listening to this, it's time for you to check out Ceejay's Take Podcast. That is, if you haven't
do that
yet. It is an amazing one. And I'm not the one person that talks a lot about relationships, because I feel like I don't know. I always just put myself down there. But Ceejay, I love that he talks about relationships.
A lot of people shy away from that. Trust me.
I do. I try, but sometimes I play low, right? But I don't think I'm as open and opinionated about it like you are. So that's why I listen to you a lot I like your podcast. And today, that's one of the kind of things we'll be talking about. So today, Ceejay and we want to talk about, I brought him in because I know that he's in the spot where he can talk about this way better than I can. And I believe that listening to his other podcasts and his opinions and his take, I always appreciate the fact that he says, hey, this is my opinion. This is what I think about it. Not forcing his opinion on anyone, but putting his opinion out there for you listening to pick and choose, right? We are all humans. We have we can make choices, right? So so today Ceejay and I are going to be talking about, we are getting Ceejay's take on, would you let kids come between you and your significant other? This is a question that has been on the internet a lot. Hey, single parents, single fathers, single mothers, wanting to get into relationships, wanting to get married and all of that. Gist, right? So today, Ceejay and I will be talking about this. And hey, stay tuned for Ceejay's take on this, because I bet you there's a ton of lessons to learn from him. So yes, Ceejay, let's get into this.
Let's do this.
Yep, let's talk. That is the first part of it. What do you think about that question? Would you let kids or a kid come in between you and your significant other? What's your first response to this?
Okay, I'm just gonna jump right into it, right? I mean, before I even answer this question, when I talk about relationships, people ask me like, what makes you, so qualified to do this? I'm like, I'm not qualified. I'm not a certified relationship therapist. I'm a person who thinks a lot and who reads a lot and stuff. And I get to know this, and I'm not afraid to express my opinion. So what we're going to be talking about here, if you don't agree, it's cool, but you get to think about it. So now, that's a very, very serious topic. I remember when we talked about this before, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be put on the spot again. Yes, because I don't know, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm a single dad. I have a son. I'm raising a son. So definitely, I have some experience in being in a relationship with someone who has a kid, because I have a kid. So when a lady comes into my life, she has to struggle with, making sure that they understand that I have a child and all that. So my first response to that is going to be, I would not, because I do understand that being in a relationship is something that you cannot take out. It's impossible to separate your relationship with a child. If you're going to get in a relationship with someone who already has a child, then you're in a relationship with that child as well. Yep. So you have to find a way to make it work. So I'm not going to let that happen, but we're going to find out in the course of the program that there's a lot of ways that can actually the relationship if you're not paying attention. So if my first answer to that was going to be, I'm not going to let it happen. Kids are not going to come in the way of my relationships because now I know better.
Awesome. That is, you say like someone who has thought about it. So,
I have.
which is good. And in this case, so what if your partner, right? Let's say this is you're a single dad. What if your partner or girl that you like doesn't get along with your kid? Or what if the kid doesn't like them? It happens. We see that every day. How do you manage that? How do you do?
Now, first, people need to understand a lot of things when it comes to this kind of relationships, because you need to understand that there are aspects that, like I said before, cannot be taken out. To begin with, what I consider to be the most important thing when you get in a relationship like this is the fact that you have to respect this simple aspect that the child is always going to be first. That's a very hard thing to think about. It's a very hard thing to accept, is because if I didn't have a child now, I don't think I'd have had a better understanding of it now, because it's happening to me in real life. Yeah. The child is always going to be there in the first place. So you need to respect the fact that this person has children, and there are times where this child's needs are going to be placed in front of yours, no matter the fact that you guys have a relationship. That's the first key. As you start making your mind, start realizing that this is, making your mind okay with this aspect, then you're moving towards the point where you guys are going to try to make progress in terms of that. Once that is there, the reason why I call that the first aspect is because, take for example, and this actually happened to me. Like, I had a date night planned with someone else in a relationship, right? The funny thing with me is my son is not here with me. My son lives with, his mom in some other country. But I constantly have to be, talk to him on the phone, and he gets to see me and all that. So I had a date planned out with, my significant other, and I was called 20 minutes to my date time that my son wanted to talk to me. Yep. Baby mama call you up, like, your son wants to talk to you. What are you doing? I was like, okay. I thought it's something I'll do real quick, talk to him for like 10 minutes. But I go on the phone and he was crying his eyes out because he had fallen, was playing, he had a wound, in his mouth or something, and it was terrible. So now I find myself in that situation where I have to give time to my boy, make sure he's okay. And my date was expecting me to pick her up in 10 minutes. I have to find a way to make her understand, share that time. You see what I mean? So how do you manage that? And these are the reality of the things that happen. I have to put my son's interest first. I'm sorry, I love you. I want to be there for you, but my boy needs me at this time. He needs daddy, and daddy got to be there for him. So being in a relationship with someone that has a child, you have to be able to understand that these are things that are inevitable. They're always going to be there. And whether you like it or not, this person being a parent is going to always pick that child's interest over yours. It doesn't mean that they don't care about you. It doesn't mean that they don't love you. They don't want to invest in your relationship. It just means they have to prioritize at that time. And unfortunately, you come second place. Okay, and that creates a big problem, especially with the women, by the way, because
not only women, even men hate it, Ceejay. Even men don't want to be put in second place. I think it's a human thing.
Right. That's right. No one wants to take a second place, right? So if you begin by respecting the fact that the child is there and that the child is going to always, have a say, verbally or or not in that relationship, then that starts to make things a little easier. And I'm going to just link this up to some things that I think people need to understand that you should be able to do when you're in these kind of relationships. Okay, we should just dive straight into that. Because it's going to be connecting to all what we're saying.
Yeah, definitely. So these are some of the do's and don'ts when you find yourself in this kind of a situation,
we'll call this some of the do's and don'ts. Definitely. So apart from you respecting that, I also feel like it's important for you to know that you shouldn't overstep. And why do I mean by overstep your influence into the child's life? Because it's very easy to win a lady over if I show her that I care about her child. For me, a lady, she has a child, a son or a daughter, and even if she's in that place where she still thinks if she give me a chance or not, she invites me over. I meet the son. We get on video games and we become buddies. I call him and bang. it's very easy for me to win her over. Now, I say this overstepping is because sometimes we get so carried away by trying to make the relationship work with a significant other by getting involved in the child's life, so much that we get to the point where it affects the other parent who is also there. Because if I come into the child's life, I'm loving the child, I'm being protective at the time, I am not the child's father. That child has a father who needs to be there for him and do certain kinds of things. So understanding that you have to be, it's a thin line where you have to like, okay, fine, I'm doing too much now. The child's daddy should be able to do this for him. I don't have to take the child to all his soccer games. I don't have to take him for dance practice. I don't have to pick him up from school and all that if his dad is there, because those are special moments which I think that there is that bonding between the parent and the child. That drive from home or to soccer practice or whatever, it's a very important time for them to connect. What if I come in there and I take advantage of that fact that the child is living with a mom, and I like the mom and I want to be there for all of those things? I'm not being fair to the other parent, and it might actually get to affect the relationship in the long run. Yeah. So you have to be able to understand that these things, you need to not overstep, but put your boundaries. Another very important thing, which I always like to tell people about, is you have to be flexible. If you're not a flexible person, dating someone who has a child, trust me, it's not going to work. It is not going to work at all. Remember, I was giving you an example about me going out for this date, and I had to talk to my boy on the phone, right? Mm-hmm. Well, long story short, this lady, of course, she was mad. She couldn't get to understand. We're planning for this date. She had gone out, done her nails and all that. Probably had a dress on, a fine dress for us to go have a good date night, and all that. Then I had to just cut it short. Yeah. Now, being flexible is you understanding that these things happen, and you give the other partner, well, the benefit of that. Okay, fine, you got to be there for your boy right now. But is there a middle line? Is there a middle ground where we can still, come together? Probably make the night not that bad. Probably I'm talk to my boy for an hour, and when he's all calm, probably asleep. Instead of us going for me start, scheduled to go out for that beautiful restaurant. I can say, okay, what if I come over a place, I get bottles of wine, we order some food, we, have a Netflix night. Yeah. So that's being flexible, that's understanding. But if you're someone who doesn't, want to twist things like this, it's not going to happen. Okay. So also, it's not going to happen at all. So being flexible, and this other aspect is something that I have actually witnessed how it affected my relationship before, is if you're not being respectful to the other parent who is involved. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm in a relationship with this lady, and I'm not respecting that she had a son with another man. So for me, because she calls the man a loser, because he hurt her, automatically I'm going to call him a loser, and I'm going to treat him like a douchebag. That's so not wrong. Right.
So
it
wrong.
Is so wrong on all levels. And it's very easy for people to do that because, well, you want to be on the woman's side. Okay, you want to win her over, you want to do everything. But you're forgetting that this child which you're going to be raising, your stepchild, is not the biological child. Whether you like it or not, that child is always going to have a relationship with the other man, even if he's in jail. He's going to go out someday. So it's very important for you to respect that other person. Right. And if you're not, like, think of it this way. I always say this. Now, I have a son. My baby mama is somewhere. So I'm going to get married now to a lady, and she comes in. And she tries to find out why things didn't work on my baby mama, so I get to tell her and all these things. Then she automatically, of course, will take her husband's side. She wants to support me or anything. And when my son has to go over to probably go see his mom and spend some time with her, how is my present wife going to handle that if she doesn't like him? Because she goes see his mom, he comes back. When he comes back to the house, you are his mom now. So what are you telling the child? You're going to be telling him, well, are you going to be, appreciating his mom in front of him or cursing his mom or whatever? It plays a lot on the child's psychology to begin with. That's right. When children are young, their minds are very receptive. They pick up things here and there. It goes as much as you talking negative things about their parents, even in the presence of their dad. The child, yeah. Right. It's just wrong. Sometimes we don't even see it. And it reminds me of us growing up back, many years ago in Africa. Like I grew up in a separated home as well. So my dad, there was another family, and and it took a long time for the kids of the other family to try to bond with us. Sometimes come over to the house and all that for long vacations. We used to live together, but I was that young, but I could tell that sometimes my mom would probably do it unintentionally, unintentionally would favor us a little
Protect her
bit.
own.
You understand? But I was that young, I was like, okay, this is my brother, right? But I couldn't blame my mom at the time too, because some things just happened.
Yeah.
But then I was that young, and I still remember today that, okay, probably that wasn't right, So kids are picking up on all these things, and if you put it out there in their face, imagine how that's going to affect the child's, knowledge and understanding of their relationship with their biological parent in the future, if that's what you're doing. And by the way, I'll just say to parents who are doing that out there, it's not winning over points for you. It doesn't make you a better parent because you're showing them all the love and buying them all these things. No, that child is going to look for their biological parents someday, trust me. Because they know at the back of their mind that it's not you. All right.
Yep, they do.
Right. I also want to talk about the fact that being in this kind of relationship, you have to be very compassionate. Compassionate in the sense that you need to understand that your partner might not be having things easy with the other person they had a child with. Mm-hmm. For example, I could be in court with my baby mama about custody for as long as it might take, and that costs money, and that me getting stressed out, and constantly have to go to court or work and all this. Being compassionate is that you understanding your partner has to go through this situation right now. Now, some women might not get that, or some men might not get it, because at the back of their mind they'll be like, I didn't cause this. I need to be investing time in what we have. We need to be trying to make this relationship work and all this. Not understand that this person still at the same time has to deal with paying child support, has to do with all that. And this being compassionate also goes to being there for your partner in terms of financial provisions.
Correct.
Because paying child support is not cheap. I'm doing that.
It's not.
It's not cheap. I'm just putting this out there right now. It is not cheap. And imagine that imagine that my girlfriend doesn't understand that at the end of the month, there's a portion of my paycheck that has to go somewhere for my child's upkeep. And then she wants this Fendi bag for her birthday. She wants to travel to Dubai and all these things. And then I can't make that happen right now because of all these things I have going on. If she doesn't understand that, okay, fine, there's going to be all those frictions. Yeah. So that compassion comes to you being able to understand, okay, fine, this is what is going through. I have to try to be supportive as much as I can for that relationship to work. Do consider the parents' resources, especially financial resources. Now, be very open about your feelings. This is a very important point. And for me, this is one of the biggest do's, because if you're not very open about the way you feel, especially when it comes to your partner's interactions with their baby mama or baby daddy or the person they have a child with, and their interactions with their kid, if you're going to bottle it all up and keep it inside, trust me, you're kidding yourself. If his baby mama will call him up at 2 a.m. in the morning and he rushes to pick up the phone all the time and it makes you feel some type of way, tell him. Let him understand that makes you feel some type of way. Because it might be that he can't avoid the call. Definitely, right now, if I see my baby mama calling me at 2 a.m. in the morning, I'll rush and pick up the phone because first in my mind is my son okay?
It's an emergency, right? Yeah.
Right. But there's also that very thin line where the other partner wants to use that for their advantage.
Yes.
Okay, probably just want to, you do understand what I mean, right?
Yes.
You want to come into, the relationship he's having right now, just probably, just piss him off or something, or to make the other lady. My baby mama might know that my girlfriend is over at my place right now. We're trying to, we're doing something, she's over for the weekend. And she decides to call me, I don't know, all the time.
All the time, like at least, that's true.
Right, so imagine what that's going to do, right?
Yeah.
So if that makes my girlfriend feel some type of way, I expect her to be able to tell me that. So I need to find a middle ground on how to make my baby mama understand that, okay, fine, I do understand that, I need to be there for my son and talk to him and all this, but I have a life too. I have a partner now that I need to.
I have a relationship to build, right?
I have another relationship to build, right?
Yeah.
That's it. So basically, my do's and don'ts are sum up in, all that conversation.
All of that. Wow. This is good. You see, it feels like you're talking to me. I always say that most of my podcast sessions, it feels like whenever it's a free, it's some kind of a free therapeutic coaching kind of thing for me. I'm the first beneficiary, right? Before my listeners.
That's a good thing about conversations.
I'm always the first beneficiary. So I've learned a lot from what you just said. And how do you think all of this that you like, again, with all this baby mama, baby father, kid related stuff, how do you think this is affecting young people? How do you think is it making young people stay married? Is it making them scared to get married? Is it making them picky in relationships? Is it just making girls like me decide to be single forever?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring it up anyways. Yes. So I see, that's a good question, right? I like that. And I'm going to relate that a lot to, especially what's happening in our generation right now. There's a very, 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 very high rate of single parenting going on right now, which was not existing many years ago. Yeah. Our parents were crazy, they had 5 wives or whatever, but they had to make sure that a dad could have his 5 wives and they live in the same house. Mm-hmm. Each one have their own, section. They're raising their kids there. It was something that used to happen, but today, no. I get married, after a year we have a kid. The next year I find out his ex is texting him, he's texting her late at night. We get a divorce. So it's that easy, and that's because I'm not going to blame it a lot on our perspective in terms of relationships. I'm going to blame it in everything, modernity as well. The world is changing now. Like it's easy now for people. It's easy now for me to raise a child on my own without getting help from other people because I went to school, I'm educated, I can get a job, I can hustle and do that. Mm-hmm. That also is a factor which is motivating a lot of young people to just want to go into all single parenting because they can afford it. They can afford that. They can take care of the child. It's easy, I don't need you to take care of my child, and that's it. It's very common to hear people say that. But in terms of how it affects relationship-wise, because I feel like our generation has lost touch with the values of true relationships. The importance of true relationships in the lives of people, not only being a child, but just making sure that life is better by creating relationships that genuinely care and, people love each other, people support each other. I think we've lost that. Now, and I say this again, why? Let's look at it in terms of a family, brother-sister love. I asked my friends, we just lost a friend, here, a very close friend of ours. We just, sent him who was buried not long ago. That was a very tough time for us. And I was having this conversation with my friends, and I asked them random question, like, because I always do that to them. Sometimes I just pull out my camera and I'm just asking questions like, please, take Ceejay stick out of here. Let's just, have a good time. Like, but that's me. So they get to understand when I pop up with this thing. So I was asking them later, like, when was the last time you called, your brother, and, just to check on him and say you love him? And, people are like, everyone was giving their own responses. When was the last time you called your sister to check on her if she's okay? Or just tell her you love her and you miss her? And strangely, in a group of like 7 guys, no one remember the last time they did that. To be very honest. No one.
See, that is interesting. Hey, Ceejay, last week I wrote to my youngest. I just got a feeling like, hey, I have this little sister that I'm so proud of. Like, girl. Right. So I sent her a message. I was like, hey, girl, I'm so proud of you. I love you. And she, her reply to me, she was like, girl, what is happening?
There you go. You see what I mean?
I'm like, so I cannot just tell you I love you. Like,
right.
What is happening? Right. Then she sends those rolling eye
rolling eyes. You see what I mean now? So our generation doesn't even normalize that. Like you try to express your love for your sister and she feels like something is wrong. Like, yo, bro, you okay? Like,
anyway,
should we call the doctor?
One of them actually said, hey, thank you for reminding me. The other one was like, is the one that sent the rolling eyes. I was like, oh God, what is happening to us?
Right. And that's just a reflection of what our generation is going through. We don't normalize that, which is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to just pick up my phone and call my brother who's in South Africa like, bro, thank you so much for being my big brother. I appreciate everything you've done for me. I love you. I miss you. And that's it. I hang up. just to check up on them. We should normalize that. Those are the values of relationships that we've lost. And that simple, I tell you what, that simple, you talking to your brother, the one who appreciated and said, thank you for reminding me, that has left an imprint in his mind. Now he knows that I got a sister somewhere who really cares about me like this. Yeah. So I feel like we have lost that, and that is a reflection of what is happening in terms of our relationship. But I don't think that there's anything wrong in getting one of these relationships that people, like with someone who has a kid or not. Young people today, especially our generation, ladies, in quotes, say that men with kids take care of them better. Now, we can argue that all day. I've heard that a lot from my friends.
That is, but yeah, I think that makes sense. To me, I look at it more on my own side. I look at it more like somebody that understands where I'm coming from. And again, the reason I think like that is because I am a single mom as well, right? So my perspective, the way I look at it, it will definitely be different from a young girl who is excited about life and wanting to be somebody's numero uno, then goes in and sees a kid. So I think my perspective on that would be definitely different from another girl who doesn't have a kid. So
now, a lot of my single friends say that, and I've asked them, randomly, because I have a very good relationship with my female friends. We talk about a lot of things, so they get to trust me probably because I do this. So we talk about this. They tell me. So when I curiously ask, why do you go after this man? It's like they take care of them better. They understand because they have the fatherly thing, the fatherly instincts that come into play. Even if they're going to be there, they're not only looking at them as a girlfriend, they're looking at them as someone's daughter as well. And, they take care of them better. So they don't mind jumping into those relationships. One of them even mentioned that it's a chance for her. That's where she feels like she's going to get her first lessons of parenting, because she's going to be taking care of someone else's child before she gets her own child. So you can see that we can argue this both ways. People look at it negatively. So people say, but we don't. At the end of the day, where are we going?
That is true. Another person argues back to your point, like this girl's point. Another lady will say, no, hey, I do not want to be with him and his children because I want to be able to have my own child and bond. I will not be able to bond with his kids until I have mine and feel what it feels like to be a biological mother. Then I'll be able to bond with his kids. I bet you that there are girls out there who throw that argument out like, hey, I'm going to be with you, but your kids are not going to be in the house until I have my own kid. And I listened to a girl talk about this, and for some reason, I felt her point. I could see her point, like that instinct, that motherly thing that exists. Yes, somebody like me, I can love any kid. I can love any child out there because mine has shown me all the colors: blue, black, red, yellow, green, right? So any other kid out there, I think I'm capable of loving them the way they are, accepting that that every child comes with their own. But for a girl that doesn't have one, when I listen to this girl talk, I kind of felt it for her. I kind of like, yes, I think she has a point. But again, it has to do with choice. You need to make a choice of what you want to do. It's bad when you go into it and you start, maybe I hear cases of girls or men treating the other kid badly just because of some. So you don't need to do that. If you don't want it, don't go into it. Don't get into it.
And I do agree with you there, Solange, because a lot of young people go into without taking the time to reflect and think about the things that are involved in it. It is hard, to be very honest. It is hard to get in a relationship with a partner who has a child. It's not like a normal relationship. Yeah. Now, it is psychologically proven that, first of all, the stress levels are higher. That's a fact. I'm just going to say, I didn't make this up. Check it out. It's proven psychologically stress levels are higher in that, because why? You have to deal with your child, you have to deal with your partner, you have to deal with the other parent who's in the relationship. So why would I want to go through all that, right? I'll just probably go look for a girl who has not had a kid before, and we just start a normal relationship. We'll start living our life happily ever after, no stress. So you know what I mean? So people need to actually get to reflect on these things, think about what is involved. I know the man might be again, if the man might be someone who's providing. I keep saying man because I'm a guy, right? So
yeah,
I'm looking for the other perspective.
It's,
Ladies, don't get it
normal.
wrong, okay?
It's normal.
right. So the man might be very wealthy, be ready to take care of you and all that, and you might feel like, okay, fine, whatever it is, he has money's going to make up for, the other, excesses. No, money's not going to make up for it. Trust me, because no matter how rich the guy is, you still want that affection. You still want to know that they're investing the relationship that they have with you, not just using their child as, as bait to, not investing enough. And I say this too, because I didn't mention this before. There's a very thin line in allowing someone to use their kid as an excuse to not invest in your relationship with them. Because a lot of people do that. I've done that sometime before. I'm sorry, I've used that. I apologize now, but if you're watching now, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. It just happened.
It's normal. I have done it too. It's normal. I think it's just a parent instinct. I think it's normal.
That's the thing. So sometimes I just use my child as an excuse not to probably want to go hang out with your friend's birthday party, to hang out with a bunch of your friends. Like, no, he's not feeling fine. I gotta call them, or whatever. We do that even unconsciously.
Yes.
So you being in that kind of relationship, you have to know, okay, these are the things you have to deal with. Are you ready to be able to deal with that? How long are you going to be able to deal with, being an option, like, an option which is going to be looked at in second place, for example. So those are all the things that I feel like if young people take time to actually reflect on these relationships, get their mind past the material aspect, which are always very, nice. A man coming, he might have 3 children, and then he's a rich man. I was listening to Steve Harvey, for example. By the way, Steve Harvey is one of the people I listen to, like, most of the time, more than everybody else. Steve and his wife, they have a blended family of like 7 kids. Steve was coming to that marriage with 4. Marjorie was coming with 3. Imagine how big that family is and how much investing of time and all this. So, Steve's 4 kids are not the kids of Marjorie, and her kids are not his. But they have to be able to understand, and he has to be able to treat them as his children and to make sure that he makes time for them equally, because if he doesn't do that, he's failing as a parent. So if we just take time to reflect on this thing, then people can make a choice. By the way, life is about choice. You're not forced to get a relationship with someone who has a child. You can always find someone who's single out there to just go ahead and do what you have to do, and don't go to the stress. But if you must, think about it and do it right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because for me personally, right, I always say that I pride myself, even though sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, hey, Solange, are you sure you can really do this? To say, hey, everybody has a part in my heart. So I'm like, hey, my daughter Haley has a part in my heart. If I got into a relationship today, that guy is going to have a place in my heart. My parents have a place in my heart. My siblings, my friends, they do, right? And I say, hey, I think I want to put myself in a position where I don't let anybody take another person's place. I try to treat people for who they are. To me, truth be told, that is a vision. It's not easy. It is not an easy thing to do, but I keep telling myself this. I keep telling myself, this is what I want to do. I want to say, but it's not once, it's not twice that I've used my daughter as an excuse. Like, hey, somebody reaches out, like, hey, can we go out? I'm like, oh no, my daughter has games tonight. Of course, it doesn't have games, but I just don't want to go. You get it?
That's right.
So it's just a parent thing, if you ask me. And okay, I have something for you. How would you, how best, right, can you tell somebody who already has a child? Let's say we're talking about someone who, again, I know we've talked about this already, but I want you to just throw one quick word for them. Someone who doesn't have a child and is getting into a relationship with someone who has kids, right? What is your best advice for that person? We've talked about the do's and the don'ts, but if somebody was listening to us now and they just want to get this piece of it, what will you tell that person?
My first thing I'm going to advise that person is know that that person's child is always going to come first. As hard as it is to understand it, as hard as as bitter the pill might be to swallow, know that that child is always going to come first. Now, I'm not saying the child is more important than you, but there are going to be times when they're going to pick the child's interest. Most of the times, actually, they're going to pick the child's interest over your interest. It's not bad. It's just, the way it's supposed to be. Once you understand that, it's going to be easy to move on. Secondly, I would say this: if that is something that is hard for you to take, if that is something that is hard for you to accept, that this child is always going to be there, daddy's daughter is always, there's going to be times where daddy can't do this with you, your man can't do this with you because he has to be there for his child, then I'll tell you this: if you cannot accept that, then trust me, you have no business getting into a relationship with someone who has a child. You're not ready for it, don't do it. It's as simple as that. Understanding that this other human is in it, it's key. And that means you have to be able to deal with everything that comes to it. If you cannot accept that for 1 minute, my sister, my brother, go find yourself a single person who is not coming with all that baggage, and you guys can start whatever you're going to start. That's my advice.
We're baggage carriers, right? We have baggages.
Yeah,
you have to deal with it.
I do have a lot of baggage. I mean, so to be honest, right? Before I get into any relationship, now when I meet someone I like, I mean, the first things that in our conversation, I won't go. The first 10 minutes, I have to let you know I have a son. Yeah. I do that. It's sometimes important. I say unconsciously. It's not like I'm intentionally, but I let you know I have a son before we move, the next step. So you can start, making your mind, do I want to do this or not? That's it.
Yeah, that's true. But again, with some girls, they need to seek that validation, right? So do you as a man find it problematic if you were seeing a girl and you have a child that, yes, again, you're a typical man that knows that your child is first, right? You're an example of that kind of man. And will you find it problematic if a girl you're seeing wakes up someday and calls you and say, hey, Ceejay, I just want to know, what is it? What is this? How will you describe us? What is our next step? And again, talking as a woman, I want to say this woman is coming from a point of they want to be validated. Would you think that do you think that is problematic? Do you think that it's wrong for her to come and you're in a relationship, right? You've not said anything, but you are just dating. Is it wrong for her to ask that question?
No, she's in every right to ask that question, because it is very important that we know and very aware of what we're doing, what your place in the relationship. If we cannot define that, and then there is a problem in the relationship to begin with. She has to know. If I've not made her understand that, okay, this is what you mean to me, you are this important to me, and I'm doing the best I can to try to make sure that the relationship works. She has the right to ask that question. And if my girlfriend wakes up and asks me that question one day, I'm automatically, what that's going to do to me personally is that's going to be a red flag in my mind. I'm like, okay, fine, Ceejay, you're not doing something right. To me, that's going to be like, fine, I'm not doing something right, for her to have this question mark in her mind, because I have to make sure that I constantly, reassure her. And that's the difficulty that also comes with this kind of relationship. Because if I'm dating someone right now that I have a son, I know that my son is going to get in the way most of the time. So I have to constantly do things to reassure my lady that no matter what's going on, no matter my son Malik being there, you are still the woman of my life, and I really want this relationship to work. I got to do those things, invest that time, be there for you, buy the gifts I have to buy, all what I have to do. So she doesn't get to the point where she starts putting that question mark in her mind. The fact that question comes up, it means something's not right. Right. The man is not doing something right, and that's making the woman feel uncomfortable, and she has every right to want to know. So that's a good question. I mean,
that's why they seek validation. Again, I always say, to me, I don't feel like anything is wrong with it. As a woman, I will ask that question to a man if I felt like something was not going on right. So again, I'm glad that you're talking to it as a man, because I know that my perspective as a woman might just be different. So I appreciate you for bringing that, for talking about that. And do you think that there is a tolerable number of kids that somebody without kids should get into a relationship with? Look, you talked about Steve. Steve has 4. Marjorie has 3, I think.
Yes.
What if Marjorie did not have any? So do you think that there is a tolerable number?
Okay, that's a good one. I don't think that there's a tolerable number, because I feel like a child is a child. If it's one child, if you can, be able to deal with that one child and everything that comes with it, with that 10 children there, you'll be just fine. So I don't feel like, a there is a huge number of kids that the only thing I'm going to say is the age group of the child matters, right? And I'll say this why, because 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, I used to date this girl. She was 2 years younger than me, right? And then we did it for like a year, and then things didn't work out, so we kind of separated, but we stayed friends because we're really cool friends before we decided to get. We realized that the fact that we decided to date actually just ruined everything about friendship. We're like, no, we missed that. Let's go back. So we stopped that. And then a couple of months later, I started seeing a divorced man. This man had kids. He had 3 kids, and it was way older than her. And the man's youngest kid was same age as this girl.
Oh boy. Okay.
All right. So you see what I mean right now? Right. That was the youngest kid was same age as her, and she was seeing that. I did not understand how that happened. I tried to convince her otherwise, but she really liked the man. She's like, he takes care of me. He's there. He's a gentleman. Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, cool. Respect it. Do you?
They take good care. They take good care, Ceejay.
They take good. Now you see what I mean, right? They take good care because this man was really taking good care of her, provided everything, send her for trips or whatever, all that kind of life. Mm-hmm. So this is where I have a problem, because now 2-3 months down into the relationship with this man, and it was that bad that he used to invite her over to his home where his kids live. Oh. So there was this lady that would come see their dad. The dad's girlfriend would come spend nights for there, and then this girl was the same age as, and the youngest one was a daughter as well. Mm-hmm. So now, before you know it, there was friction that started happening between the daughter and the dad's girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Mm. So I have a problem with the age group of the kids. As long as, it's within that age group where there is the authority and then there's a child, so you can actually exercise that. It's fine. Otherwise, trust me, it's conflict of interest going to come into it. The kids they're not going to respect you and all that. So you can't really blame them. I mean, my stepmom is the same age as me. I mean, don't blame me if something I tell my stepmom things that I don't have to say because I just want to be mean. So that's where I have a problem with. But if it's a number of kids, no. If you can deal with one child, then 10 comes in, you're going to be fine.
Oh, great. That's good. That's nice. I picked my own thing from there. I hope you're listening. You're gonna pick your own things from there, but I picked mine. This is awesome. This is awesome, Ceejay. I really appreciate your opinion again. Ceejay's take is so what much. I was looking for in here. Yeah. And okay, let's get to that part of my podcast that is my fun part, right? Like one of my fun, like I just like to throw people out there to say things, right? So what advice would you give us Ceejay's take to that girl or boy out there who is probably struggling now to make that decision on whether to get into a relationship, not only get into a relationship, but commit to that relationship, which means get serious, right? Start talking marriage talks with a girl or a boy that either has a kid or kids. What's the takeaway for that person at this moment? Ceejay's take.
Okay, this is Ceejay's take, right? I'm getting to my Ceejay's take mood right now. So now, this is what I'm going to tell them, right? There's nothing wrong in getting into a relationship with someone as a child. There's nothing wrong. It's a relationship like every other. There's just some things that are a little extra that you have to pay attention to, which don't exist in relationships where there are no kids involved. Now, if you have to get into one of those, few things I want you to think about. First and foremost, do not keep your opinions hidden. If you don't like something, air it out. If you don't feel comfortable about something, tell your partner. You're not telling your partner because you want to show them how much they're caring for their child over you. You're bringing it out because you want you and your partner to make it work. Second of all, I want you to invest time in trying to build a relationship with the child. You have to invest time, intentionally invest time in building a favorable relationship with the child. It might be tough, it might be hard. Some kids will come and they don't just like you because you're not their mom, because they prefer their mom over you.
Yep.
Deal with it. But if you have to be in a relationship with your dad, that kid, you have to deal with that kid every other day. So how do you do that? You need to find a way to make that child understand that you're not coming to, still daddy
delete
away.
their mom. Yeah.
Right. You're not coming to, wipe mom off the board. You're there to provide support, which mom might not be providing that particular time because mom is not there at the time. So you have to try to establish some sort of relationship with the child. How hard that might be, you have to try to do that. Now, thirdly, understand that the child might get involved in many ways than one which you would not like. And I'm saying this because you're going to see it. There's going to be so many ways that child is going to come into your relationship with your man or your woman that you totally hate it. You want to strangle the kid, you want to kick them out, whatever. But that is the reality of it. You have to be flexible. You have to be able to understand. Now, in my life, personally, there are words I don't like to use. I don't like to use words like understanding in terms of relationship. I don't like to use words like tolerate. No. I feel like if I'm in a relationship where I have to tolerate some certain things that I cannot deal with, then I shouldn't be in that relationship. I tell people that. People will say, they'll say, oh, you're so hard. You think everybody's as smart as you because the podcast, my ex-girlfriend used to say that. I don't want you to be as me, but I don't want to be able to tolerate and understand these things. Okay, let's just find a way to work through it. If we cannot, that's it. But you have to be able to understand or to be flexible, to be able to change things around when those situations happen. Know that your partner is dealing with their child, which they raise, and another person that they're raising the child with, and then they have to still invest time in your relationship. Pay attention to your partner's resources as well. You have to understand that their resources are shared in many ways than one. It's simple. If I don't have a child, I'll invest more in my relationship with my girlfriend. We'll go for a trip easily and all that as often as we can. But if I can't do that as often as now because I have to pay child support, and I'm not only thinking of the child, my baby mama, if my baby mama is not doing okay, my child is affected too. So if she calls me up like she's stuck, I'm sorry, boo, I gotta make sure she's straight somehow, even if it's not making it complete, because that's me indirectly making sure that my child is okay. So these are the things that, for me, I feel like these are the things that if you put them in mind, understanding that the child is always going to be there, being flexible, but not being stupid, trying to be flexible, but not being stupid, not giving them a chance to use their child as an excuse not to invest in your relationship, because no matter what it is, you should be as upfront. And that's where I come to the point of you expressing yourself. Because yes, there's a child, but you as a person, you need to be loved, you need to be taken care of, you need to, all these things. So how do you make that known? You express yourself to them. If you feel like he's investing so much in the child and not taking care of you, the door is right there, walk right out the door, telling you, sorry, you don't feel you want to do this anymore. There's nothing wrong in that. People, I feel like our generation too has come to the point where we are so scared of making certain choices in life because of what people are going to say or what society is going to tell about us. People stay stuck in relationships and marriages because, if I leave now, they're going to say, I'm too young.
What will people say?
You're not happy. What will people say? No, it's easy. It doesn't matter. You're not happy. I'm sorry. We try to make you work. It's not working. It's okay. Good luck. You're out of the door. So make sure that your interest, is not hidden. Your interest is there, but you have to be able to, deal with the fact that the child is in your life as well, and you guys try to make it work together. That's it. So don't be scared of getting a relationship with one. Jump right into it, but be very, very aware of what you're getting into.
Ceejay, I've listened to you. Most of the things you said, you spoke to that girl that doesn't have a child that is getting, or that guy that doesn't have a child that is getting into a relationship with someone who already has a child. Talk to your man, talk to yourself. Talk to a man like you who already has a child. What can they do better to make sure that they keep these relationships and to make sure that these other partners that do not have kids feel loved and appreciated? I know that, yes, even though there is a child, I am still also somebody, right? So talk to that you in a relationship.
Right. Now, speaking to myself and to, all the single dad moms out there, this is what I would say. I was like, the partner you're with, your partner in the relationship who doesn't have a child, they are going through a lot of struggles. They have to deal with a lot. You have to be you cannot be oblivious of the fact that they have to deal with the fact that you have a kid. They have to deal with the fact that there's a baby daddy or there's a baby mommy somewhere. they have to deal with the fact that there's someone who might be stalking them on Facebook or on Instagram, who might be sending them messages or who might be sending them threats. You cannot be ignorant of that. You have to be very aware, and it is your duty to protect your partner. However you can do that, it's your duty to protect them. And the one easiest way you can do that, you have to constantly reassure them that no matter the child being there, no matter baby mama being on the picture, you are in my life, and I love you and I respect you, and I want this to work. It takes work to do that, by the way. It takes investing of resources. It takes investment of time. It takes investment of, you showing how much you care about them, because that's the only way you can reassure them. That's the only way you can make them sleep at night and not feel worried that your baby mama is calling you at 2 a.m. and you have to pick up the phone, or your baby dad is calling you at 3 a.m. you have to pick up the phone. No. Imagine, look at this for a minute, right? My friend, he's in America, by the way. He's in Maryland. And he has a kid. The girl, I think she's in North Carolina, I guess, or something like that. And he is married right now, though. But he has this kid with the other lady. And this child couldn't fly on their own. And he had to take that child to go see the mom. And he had to fly to some other state. So he took a flight and took the child there. And he had to come back in 2 days. He didn't come back in 2 days. Whatever reasons, I don't know. But he didn't come back in 2 days. He came back in 4 days. And before these 4 days, imagine the wife had called all his friends all over the world. This is what your brother is doing. He's going to see that woman. And you can't blame the woman.
You can't blame her.
Because I told him, like, bro, I can't blame your wife. She had the right to feel worried because you were going to leave the kid over there for, you said 2 days, and then you took 4 days. What the hell were you doing over there in North Carolina for 4 days? Your baby mama is over there. Anything can happen. So don't blame her for feeling this way. So imagine if he didn't have a good story, imagine if you don't reassure your wife constantly that, hey, I'm going to do this, but you know that you're the number one woman in my life. She's not going to have those question marks. She's not going to be calling all these friends all over the world to complain about this. That's why I think it's very important for you single parents to know that you have to make it a duty to constantly reassure your partner that they are in your life and you respect them, no matter all these other things that are involved. And you do extra. You have to go the extra mile to show them that. That's the only way they'll be comfortable. Your partner is going to be comfortable because, trust me, they're dealing with a whole lot of things that you cannot even imagine.
Yeah. I'm happy. That's why I love Ceejay's take, right? You see, my dear listeners, you can see Ceejay's take, right? He comes from a point, like, it's just awesome the way he plays his thing, the way he takes things. So please check out his podcast. These things I've made him talk about here. These are things that he talks about on his podcast. He gives his take on different situations in life, different things. So please check out his podcast. Right. You're going to love it. Ceejay, we've come to the end of this session. Is there anything you want to throw out there?
Oh my gosh,
final
really?
Words? The last
I want to say, I want to say, hey, well, the last thing I'm going to say is, we live in a world right now that is giving us a whole lot of opportunities. I'm talking to young people right now. There's a whole lot of opportunities that we have in our disposal. What Solange is doing, what I'm doing, is not like what the best book can do. Anybody can, start whatever on the internet right now. You can do whatever you want. Research. What I would encourage people to do is read a lot. Make it a habit to read. Reading has saved my life in many situations. Read a lot, even if it's, 30 minutes a day, it's going to change your life. Love a lot. Yeah, because no matter what the world is showing us, no matter how the world tries to, paint love black or whatever, love is a beautiful thing. Love a lot. Live your life, with an open heart. Do not be shy of the things you want to do in your life. Things that make you happy, go after them. Don't regret it. If they don't like it, that's their problem. As long as you're happy, you're good. So, and just enjoy life, right? By the way, don't be scared to get in a relationship because there's a baby or, whatever. Talk to your partner. If you guys can actually make it work, go ahead and make it work. And check out my podcast, by the way. It's called Ceejay's Take Podcast. You can find me on I'm stealing time now to advertise me. You can find me on every podcast listening platform out there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram. You just check me out. Feel free to leave your questions. I'll be able to reply to them. And Again, you can come on my show just like I'm on Solange. So I'm honored to be here, Solange Badu. I'm just going to say this. I've been a big fan of your program for a long time, and I had to summon the courage. That time I texted him like, okay, I'm going to let her know that I like what she's doing. Maybe she's going to come in one day. And here we are. Ta-da!
Yes, Ceejay, you told me you liked what I'm doing, and I told you I wanted you to be my guest. So I actually came for you, right?
Right. It felt good when you asked me to come on the show, but I didn't want to. Thank you so much.
That was great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking all the time. It's late where you are now. It's a Saturday night for you. You should be having fun with your friends and stuff.
I know. It's okay.
You decided to come sit here and talk to me and my guys, and I really appreciate you for that. I thank you for your insights. I thank you for Ceejay's take. It's going to stay. As I always say, my podcast is a repository, right? That's why I bring on people like you to come talk. So in case somebody ever finds themselves in a situation where they want to get an idea, listen to what someone can say about it, they can always come back to Ceejay's Take episode on my podcast and get the knowledge. I appreciate you so much. I thank you, my dear listeners. You've heard from Ceejay. Please check out his platforms, follow him, subscribe to his channel. Again, this is what we do. We are Cameroonians. I found out what he was doing and I reached out to him. And we're talking 237. That's who we are. So we are happy. I'm happy that we're able to bring this episode up to you. Please continue to leave feedback, right? It's important for you to leave feedback. If you listen to us today, kindly leave a feedback. Again, I get all the calls, I get the messages, but you know what I appreciate and love the most is if you give a written review. Please write it down on those platforms. That is what pushes the podcast into the world. That is how we get the audience. That's how we get the recognition. So please, if you listen to Ceejay's podcast, you listen to my podcast, please kindly write a review on whichever platform you are on. It's going to help us. That is one of the biggest ways you can support us. So I appreciate you all so much. I thank you again, Ceejay, and you all have an amazing day. Thank you.
You should take care of yourself. Have a good day.
Be good to each other, guys, and bye-bye.